Hey, welcome to a very special edition of Ring the Damn Bell. I have with me tonight Mr. Herb Simmons, a man that I would like to consider a friend since I've met him. A great guy. He is actually also the owner of SICW, and we have some pretty exciting things happening that we could be talking about. We could be talking about FanFest, and as well as Mr. Herb telling us some stories throughout his years within professional wrestling as a promoter. You've been 50 plus years, Mr. Herb.
Yes, sir. This past February, 52nd year, I just celebrated, and man, time sure flies when you're having fun.
I I absolutely agree with that. You're also the mayor of a little town in Illinois, correct? Or
Yep.
no, it's in Missouri, right?
Yep, it's in Illinois. It's on the
Illinois.
banks of the Mississippi River, a little town called East Carondelet, Illinois. Nice little bedroom community, and you throw a rock across the river and hit St. Louis, Missouri.
I love small communities, man. I used to be a big city guy when I was a young man, but then when I settled down and started having a family, I'm like, I gotta get out of the big city. I like to go visit them. I like my little small communities whenever I live in there. But we have coming up in May something I'm excited about because my wife and I have already purchased our tickets to go because we did not want to wait and us not be able to go because of it being sold out. We have FanFest coming up. Tell us about it.
Well, FanFest 3 is a crazy idea. People tell me we did FanFest 1 and 2, and they went over pretty well. Last year we had 60 different of our wrestling legends join us, and it was at a place called the Aviator Hotel in South St. Louis. A nice hotel, but I guess the all the stars aligned because they had some issues last year, the last couple of years of the air conditioning was a problem. And of course, this is always in May when we do this Bruiser Broody Memorial and the Fan Fest. So that was the only glitch that we really had. So this year we moved it out to the Hilton at the St. Louis airport, as you know. And so just about a month ago, I was notified that hotel that we had it at the last 2 years went out of business. So had I booked it there, I'd have been scurrying around trying to change everything. And go ahead.
And real quick, let me interrupt you real quick. I want everyone who may watch this video, I want to let you guys know something that what me and my wife was so impressed about. A lot of times when you go to these big events, it doesn't matter if it's professional wrestling or any other type of event, you have to between buying the tickets to the event and then you have to try to find the hotel you're staying in, and sometimes it can be stressful. Let me tell you, my wife and I were able to book this online in a matter of a couple of minutes, because those packages that the hotel can be included as well as your package, the tickets for whatever you want to do, or you can do what me and my wife did, and we got everything, but it was so simple to do. And I tell you, that is something I really appreciated.
Well, and I heard that over the last couple of years because that's kind of the same thing we've repeated. And I am getting some new fans that have said, "Hey, where's my tickets at? I ordered them a month or two ago." And I guess that's something we probably should have put on our webpage is that if you have purchased your tickets online, don't worry. When you show up that day, you'll be on the master list, and there'll be a package there with your name in it. Whatever package you bought, you'll have that color armbands. Yeah, it will be there. It's real simple. And the other benefit you get from Artem Online, we try to speed you up to get you in early that Saturday morning. And then, of course, this year, thanks to our good friend Teddy Long, I'm sure everybody's familiar with Teddy Long, a WWE Hall of Famer himself, Holla player, he convinced me that we needed to kind of let some of the legends that's going to come in town early that Friday, because Mr. Bill Apter will be there doing a question and answer session that evening, to have their table set up, and the fans that attend that can get some pre-buys of their goods and some autographs and such. So it's actually going to be Friday night, And then Saturday morning, about 9 o'clock, we'll open up the Fan Fest, and some of these legends are maybe not get out of bed as early as some of us do, but most of them will be there. They'll be at their tables, and they'll be meeting the fans as they come in, and we'll get them in as quick as possible. And so we moved it to the airport this year, for one, because as I said last year, we made about 60 trips back and forth from the airport to the Aviator, which means we had to make 60 trips back out of town on Sunday. So it was a logistic nightmare for us. So this year they offer a shuttle every 15 minutes from the airport right across the interstate to the Hilton Hotel. So I'm hoping that helps out a lot there. And then, just as you said, having everything in one building, your rooms are there, the restaurants, and I just think it makes it so much easier not having to travel to another location. So we tried to make it as affordable and as accessible as possible. And the hotel has been great to work with. And, it's a Hilton hotel, it's really a 5-star hotel. And I think the fans who have joined us the last 2 years that are coming back will be impressed, because the air conditioning is going to be working. But the Fan Fest is, they have these all over the world, basically. And St. Louis, the only other one that came close to this was, we were part of one back in about 2012, I think. Old wrestler, Colonel Buck Robley.
Let me interrupt you real quick. I want to say something real quick, and I want to go back to your said about everything being in one facility, how nice it is. Look, and I have to believe that I'm not the only one that has a wife who is so wonderful and supporting, and who's coming with me, who's not necessarily a wrestling fan. What's great about that is when she gets tired of being around all the wrestling stuff, because believe me, I subject her to a lot of wrestling stuff. But when she gets tired of that, she can simply just go back into the room. We don't have to worry about her trying to fight traffic to come pick me up, none of that stuff. So this, I mean, look, this in itself is so well thought of, and it really does help a lot of people who are in the position, like I said, that I'm in, where their spouse may not like wrestling, or you only have one vehicle, so trying to get from one hotel to the event. I mean, guys, I go to a lot of events, and this is going to be one of the nicest ones. So you guys want to make sure you jump on this opportunity and get those tickets right now. But go ahead, Mr. Herb.
Yeah, and to get those tickets, go to sicw.org, and that's the easiest way to get them. And I got my coach right here, Bruiser. I used to have a Bruiser and a Broody. I had this right here, 120-pound is Bruiser, and my Belgian Malinois, while it passed away, was Broody. So he's trying to bother me now. He knows I'm trying to talk, so he won't start barking, I hope. But anyway, hold on. But the hotel is going to be great, like you said. And I think the other thing is really good. We've kept it affordable, I believe.
It is so, look, guys.
Yeah.
When my wife went on and looked to see the cost of it, because we just did a trip back home to Louisiana, and that's always expensive. And when she went on to see how much it was going to cost, we couldn't believe it. We were like, really? I mean, it is so affordable to go, and that makes it really nice. It really does.
Well, and that's the other thing that I really took into consideration, because I want the legends that are coming in that, to help supplement their incomes, because, you got to keep in mind, Kevin, these legends that are out there now, the ones that are retired, that some of them are on fixed incomes.
Yep.
Back in the day, they didn't have the 401ks and the retirement programs. And so this is a way for them to supplement their little income. And, if you make it too expensive, then it gets into the pockets of the fans, and, they come, and you may have, I think we're up to about 24, 25 legends right now, because I promised myself I will not have 60 this year, because it's just kind of unmanageable. But I want them to be able to, if they got 10 legends that they want to get a photo with or purchase something, I want them to be able to still be able to afford that and not have to sell their first child, or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. And some of the legends else could be there. I know B. Brian Blair's going to be there. I know Baby Doll's going to be there, who's been on the podcast. She is absolutely magnificent. B. Brian Blair, who's going to be there, I just said, was
Yeah.
also on the podcast. He's such a
Yeah.
great guy.
Great. Yeah. Missy Hyatt's going to be there.
Missy Hyatt's going to be there. I've talked to her via email. She seems like she's really nice. You're going to have a lot of legends. I want to go back to something that you said as well about this help support some of these legends that's going to be there. You know, back in the day, especially during the territory days, you didn't have a whole lot of wrestlers, if any, that had these $1 million contracts like a lot of these young men and women do now. These legends actually were the ones that paved the way for these young men and young women to be able to make the money they do now. But they didn't make that money back then. So, you know, this is something else of why this is so great, because of the fact that it is helping them with some income to help them survive in life, because you know, not only did they pave the way for the younger generation, they did so with their bodies. And a lot of these men and women, I'm not gonna say they're in bad shape, but they live with pain every single day. And the least we could do as wrestling fans is to support those veterans of professional wrestling.
Well, and that's why, you know, like I said, we do this to help support them, because you know they entertained us for you know, all my life,
Yep.
basically, you know, and then being able to get involved and do the promotional part of it for 52 years. I have met some of the all-time greats, and I feel obligated, because, like you said, I know I'm close friends with many of them right now, and I know the aches and pains that we talk about on the phone or when we meet in person, and so and they have a good time. This is a way for them to get together with the guys and gals that they shared the rings with and the locker rooms with and the road trips together.
Right.
You know, they may have not seen somebody for a couple of years, and you know, you bring them in, and all of a sudden, you know, there's Abdullah the Butcher sitting there, and then there's the Rock and Roll Express, or and you know, one of the big ones we got coming in also is Kevin Von Erich will be there. You know, he was just on our Sunday night show doing a little interview, letting everybody know he's happy to come back to St. Louis, because he was actually born over in Illinois at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, the old hospital that's been torn down since then. But a lot of people didn't know that. They all thought he was from Denton, Texas, you know, where he was born. But we told that story on the Sunday night show. But so, you know, there's a list of them coming in. Tito Santana is going to be there. You know, so it's a who's who. You know, and then we got vendors that are going to be there that will be set up. You know, yourself will be there. We've got a couple other podcast people, Teddy Long, Matt Davis. And like I said, that Friday night, Bill Apter is going to be there hosting a question and answer. So if you want to join in and listen to Greg Valentine, who is being inducted into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, he'll be there. He arrives in town about 7:30 that evening, so he may be a little late, but Greg's going to be inducted. And that's the other thing. We tie in the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame that my late friend Larry Matasek and Nick Rednire, my senior referee, we started many years ago. And everybody who helped make St. Louis wrestling the capital of wrestling that we've inducted in there is in the Hall of Fame. And this year we have, like I said, Greg Valentine, Ox Baker's going in, Hacksaw Butch Reed.
Oh, wow.
Who else? Ivan Koloff and Greg Valentine. So there's 5 of them going in. And of course, the ones that aren't with us, either one of their family members are going to be there, or the other one is Jerry Crusher Blackwell.
Okay.
Who was big in St. Louis, former Missouri state champion, did a lot of work with me and Bruiser Broody together. So you know, that ties into the whole Saturday.
Okay.
Be about 5 o'clock. We'll do that Hall of Fame, and so I mean and then of course at 7 o'clock is the big SICW Bruiser Broody Battle Royal. You know, we'll have a full card of wrestling. Ended out with that Battle Royal. Barbara Goodish, who is the widow of the late Bruiser Broody, is always with us, and she presents the winner of that trophy cup.
And if I can stop you real quick, let's talk about the late great magnificent Bruiser Brody. Now, I could tell you that when I was a child, just seeing Bruiser Brody on TV scared the bejesus out of me. But in reality, from what I understand, he was a very kind man. Now I know that you guys were very good friends. I think I've heard you say he was your best friend, actually.
Yeah.
Could you tell us some good stories, a couple of stories about Mr. Bruiser Brody?
Yeah. I grew up, like I said, watching wrestling ever since I can remember. I can't even tell you how young I was, but my mother and I just loved it. She introduced me to it, but then as I got older, she had her favorites, I had mine, and then as I really got older, Bruiser Brody was always one of my favorite. And then to get to meet him and then work with him later in life was like Christmas every day. He was such a phenomenal individual. Here was a guy that played the stock market. He loved. He was a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
He just an all-around great guy. But I met him through Sam Muchnick, who was the former NWA president for about 40 years off and on. And through my other good friend, Larry Matasek, we kind of had a triangle of the business. I was never wanted to be a wrestler, but I was always intrigued, like Larry Matasek was, on the behind the scenes. He was Sam Muchnick's protege. Started with him when he was 16 years old, sweeping the floors at the office and at the Claridge Hotel and other offices they used to have. They would move from a hotel to a hotel. Whenever they'd raise the rent on Sam, he'd go find another hotel at a cheaper rate. So they had a couple different offices in St. Louis. But I got later on, I got to meet Bruiser Brody, Frank Goodish. And my first encounter, I was running a shows at a place called the Belclair Fairgrounds, where I just had a show there this past Saturday night. And I started running there back in the 70s. And so we've been running there regular, and we used to run on Thursday nights there. And we had guys coming from Memphis and from Tennessee area, people like Bill Ash had a group of guys working down there. Saul Reincroft, George Reincroft, he would come in. One time we had Iceman King Parsons show up there. The Stomper would show up off and on. And so we're there on a Thursday night, and Larry and I are standing behind the petition and watching the matches. And, we'd always put a good crowd in there on a Thursday night. And Larry said, "What do you think about having Frank come up here?" And at this time, he's larger than life. He's on television every weekend somewhere, And I remember looking around over my shoulder. I said, "Frank's not going to come to Belleville, Illinois. He's everywhere else. He's going here, going there." And he said, "Well, let me check." And so that following week, I get a phone call, and he says, "Hey, Frank's in." He says he wants to get together and talk. And so I show up at Larry's house, and we get him on the phone, and Larry introduces me to him. And now keep in mind, I've heard all the horror stories about Frank Brody, Bruiser Brody, how you can't trust him, how he stands promoters up. He'll take the money and run. And I'm thinking, well, do I really want to get in hooks with this guy, And so I'm asking Larry, hey, I've heard this. I heard Dick the Bruiser telling me all these horror stories about him. And Larry'd say, there's, for every problem, there's a reason. And he said, "You're just going to have to judge by yourself." And I said, "Okay." But Frank and I make the deal on the phone. And I said, "Do I need to send you a deposit?" He said, "What's a deposit?" And I'm thinking, okay. He said, "Nope, your word is your bond with me." And he said, "You're a friend of Larry's and Sam, so you're a friend of mine." said, okay, well, so it was like a month later that I booked this. Now, I mean, I got a billboard up in town. We got newspaper ads. We got TV commercials going. Bruiser Broody, King Kong Brody's coming to Belleville, Illinois for this big match. And I mean, the phone lines are burning up because he's hot. He's a hot item then. And everybody, other promoters were calling me, hey, man, how did you get Bruiser Broody? And you got to have connections, what you tell them. And so I never will forget, and I've told this story several times. Night of the show comes, day of the show, the people at the fairgrounds are calling me. The phones are ringing off the hook. People's wanting tickets. And so we get there. I mean, the place is packed. And it's a big open span building, metal building. And, it can seat a couple thousand people. And I don't remember how many we had there that night, but it was packed. And so we always, back then, we started the shows at 8:00. We'd open the doors at 6:30, 7:00. And people were standing in line like at 5:00. I mean, they wanted to get in and get the best seats, and so I'm watching the clock. I mean, I'm nervous as I don't know what. And because I in the back of my mind, I'm hearing, what do you do if you don't show? Because I never have false billed anybody. If I advertise somebody, they're there. And but as the clock's ticking away, I go outside underneath this long canopy that runs the length of the building, and I can see the driveway all the way down through the parking lot. And I'm watching the gate, and man, I'm looking at the clock. It gets to be about 7:45. And I'm literally standing outside, and I hear from inside, they're chanting, Broody, Broody, Broody. And I'm going, oh boy, and I can't get Larry to answer his phone. Back then he had the old big bag phone. I don't know if you remember them. You may be, but it was a big bag phone. And he's not answering that. And we used to carry these little bitty pagers that all you can do is get a number on them. I'm dialing his number, and he's not answering. And I'm thinking, Larry would not do this to me, because he was picking him up to bring him.
Right.
And so it gets to be about 5 minutes to 8. My wife comes in outside, and she says, do you hear what's going on in there? I said, yeah. And I remember saying, she says, what are we going to do? And I looked at her and I said, what are we going to do? You got to go back in there and tell him he's not coming, And just about that time, I look at the gate and I see a car pull in, and I'm going, wait a minute. That looks like Larry's car. Wait a minute. And the closer it got into me, I could see it was Larry's car. And he pulls out. I had a reserved spot for him. He pulls in, and I'll never, to this day, it's just like it was yesterday. The passenger side door opens up, and this monster of a guy swings his legs out, and he stands up, and he's putting his hair back, and he's putting it in a ponytail. He's got a pair of cutoff shorts on and his sneakers, and he walks over there to me, and he walks up, and he's got his gym bag in his hand, and he sticks his hand out, and he says, I bet you didn't think I was coming, did you, big boy? And I stood there, and I looked up at him, and I said, I never had to worry, man. So, but I was ready to get in my car and leave. And that was my first encounter with him. And then after the show was over that night, I remember we're sitting in the locker room, and they was ribbing me, and Larry said, Frank, tell Herb about some of the stories that he's been hearing. And he had a story about, why him and Bruiser didn't get along at one time. And all the stories he was telling me, it was always about a promoter that messed over him on the money. You come in, you make a deal, but then, the gate is short, I'll catch you next show. And that's why he was an independent guy, that you didn't mess with his money. And I never did. Not one time, anything that him and I ever agreed to. His money was there when he got there. And I mean, there's videos of him out there saying that two of the greatest promoters he ever worked for was Sam Muchnick and Herb Simmons, because, whatever we told him was there. So, great guy. He introduced me to so many guys like Dick Murdoch, Kamala, Jim Harris, Jerry Blackwell, people like that he brought to us. Ox Baker introduced me to Ox Baker.
Wow.
Guys that I developed a relationship with that worked for me, with John Nord, the Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like that he could come in. And then I had local guys that he fell in love with. I had a big guy that we called him the Giant Assassin, big young kid, big broad back on him, muscles. And Frank liked those guys because he could take that chair and whack the heck out of them, And so the bigger they are, the more he liked it, And
right.
so it was a good run. In fact, in 1988, when that terrible day happened, it sticks in my mind because I know where I was at. I remember when I got the call from Larry, because he was with us the weekend before. I had a place in Cahokia, Illinois, had a lounge, a bar in the upstairs we had made into the Bruiser Broody lounge. And he was there with us that weekend. And we were celebrating our anniversary. And then 7 days later when he got killed. And tough times. Him and I was on the venture with Larry on another venture that we were going to be doing. And we were close to getting it up off the ground. But that never happened. They say things happen for a reason. But then his wife and I, a sweet, dearest lady, became great friends. We talk all the time, and she clears her schedule every year, even before the FANFEST, because I've been doing the Bruiser Broody Memorial for many years now. She's cleared her schedule every year and comes in and is a part of that for us.
So it's, talking about Bruiser, I was just talking to someone a few days ago, and we were talking about fantasy booking. And they asked the question of who was somebody from the past that you would love to see them in a match with someone from today. And the first thing that came to mind was Bruiser Broody against Jacob Fatu. I think that both of their styles are similar. And I think that would have just been a huge money match.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
Well, yeah, and that's, I remember having lots of conversations with Frank on dream matches, and there wasn't too many guys out there that he didn't have a chance to work. And of course, everybody always wanted to see the dream match of Broody and Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
And there was talks of that, and Barbara Goodish was well aware of them, and there was plans being made. Frank knew that sooner or later Vince was going to make that proposal.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the big drawbacks, and I remember him, Larry, and I sitting around the table talking about it, the word of trust came up.
Mm-hmm.
How do you trust people? And of course, Frank had a plan B in case that happened. And it's a shame that never happened. But Frank knew that would have been a good payoff. That would have been the dream match that everybody wanted to see. And he knew that for the right price, he probably would have done the job. But it would have been well worth it. Because he was getting older, as Barbara and I have talked before, and when he went out there and did his match, it wasn't a typical match, as you know.
Right.
He went out there and he gave the fans 100, 200% every night he went out there, and that's what he would tell her when he'd come home. He'd say, I want to make the fans know just exactly that they got their money's worth when I went out there, regardless whoever it was against. And that's what he did. He didn't disappoint anybody.
So here's a question for you. Do you know why he decided to become a professional wrestler? Because, it's not like the man didn't have any options in life, because he was such an intelligent man. I mean, very intelligent. Do you know that story?
Did you say why he became a wrestler?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's like a lot of them do. He was going to play football. And of course, a lot of these guys, that's the career they were looking for. And of course, because of injuries or whatever it may be, some of them get sidelined, and all of a sudden you're a fan yourself, or somebody, or some of your buddies say, "Hey, let's go down to the local wrestling show tonight," and then somebody looks at you, and here's this guy, 6'7", 6'8", built like a brick shit house, basically. Excuse my French, but some wrestler sitting over there saying, "Hey, that could be the next moneymaker." And that's where a lot of these guys got picked out at, and then they get them involved, and they start working them out. But and that's kind of the story, Frank, and a lot of them went to West Texas, the Funks, people like that. They all took a liking to Frank. Kevin Von Erich, when we talked this past week, talked about how he was like a brother to the Von Erichs. He was their weightlifting coach for a while, and so then once you get into it, and then he decided early on, because he got to know the business and got to know how shady back then of a business it could be, and that's what a lot of people, and fans wouldn't know. They didn't need to know, really. It was a tough business back then. It was a cutthroat. If you were in a locker room and you were that promotion's number one guy, and here comes a guy in that looks like he's the great next star, he's going to take your spot. So, there's sometimes some hard feelings get thrown out there, and you had to take care of yourself the best you could. And he made good friends with a lot of people. And of course, in this business, you make a lot of good friends, but you also make some bad ones. And that goes on to this day. And, it's guys like him, the Funks, the Briscoes, people like that. I tell everybody now, the fans, we nowadays are just continuing to build on the foundation that those guys built. Wrestling is the same as it was back when it was first introduced many, many years ago. The only thing that has changed is the person. A headlock's still a headlock, a leg lock's a leg lock. The thing is now, egos gets in the way, seems to be more nowadays than it did back then, because back then guys were driving and riding 3 and 4 and 5 guys in a car, going 200, 300, 400 miles from one town to another. So it was, when they talk about a brotherhood, there is no brotherhood nowadays. A lot of people like to talk about we got a brother. You don't know nothing about a brotherhood until you spend miles and miles in a car with the guys, and you're ribbing one another, and you're eating cans of beans and cans of tuna, and trying to pull your money together to go in and buy a slab of bologna. That's when you got a brotherhood, I'm telling you.
So let me ask you a question about that. Do you think that the sense of brotherhood has changed in professional wrestling because of the money that these guys make now? And then the second part to that question is actually, go ahead and answer that, and then I have another question I want to ask you.
You was asking about the money back then?
No, what I'm saying is, do you think that brotherhood is not the same today because of the fact that these guys make so much money now compared to what they made back in the day, where they had to rely on one another?
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, look at the money these guys, and I'm not begrudging anybody for the money they make nowadays. These guys are out there earning that money, and they're doing it, but it's more money than the guys made back in the day. So now they're flying around. They're not having to jump in cars and drive here and there. Back in the day, guys, like I said, they had to save money. They had to save money to get from town to town. Promoters were, tight with their money. And so I think that's definitely a good reason now. Guys are making more money now. They got contracts, especially the bigger federations. back then, a promoter could work you 6 months or a year in one territory and then send you to another one. But guess what? If you was a family man also, you'd have to uproot your family and take them with you. And unless you were one of the main guys in that locker room, there wasn't a lot of money there for you.
Right. And the second question, I'm looking for. So Bret Hart, in a recent interview, said that he finds that wrestlers today are more actors pretending to be wrestlers than actual wrestlers. Do you agree with that?
I had trouble hearing you that time, Kevin.
So Bret Hart said that he finds wrestlers today are more actors pretending to be wrestlers than actual wrestlers.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah. Brett's I think is my opinion. It's definitely Brett's opinion. I think he's spot on right there. It's more. I don't even, and I hate to say it because I've been in it so long, but I have a hard time watching the product that's out there today. One, it's not what I grew up with. It's not what I can get involved in. Like I said, I have nothing against the modern day wrestling, but this flipping around like fish out of water. There's no stories being told. And I show the SICW fans time and time again, storytelling is what they want to see. Because I got the best fans everywhere. Every promoter says that, but I mean it from my heart when I say that, because without the fans and without a good locker room, there is no SICW. Right. There is no Herb Simmons. And like this last week at my show, and every show I have, I stand at the door after the show's over with, and I'm thanking the people as they're leaving. And I'm listening to them. I'm looking at the smiles in their face, and they're telling me, man, Herb, just when we thought we had this figured out, you pull a rabbit out of your hat. This last Saturday night, we had a championship match. And if you'd have been, if you had the bookies in there, they'd have cleaned up because they never thought the main event was going to end the way it did. We had a semi-main event the same way. 2 young men, graduates of the Ace Wrestling Academy, Cowboy Bob Barton, who trained them for me. They've been tag team partners. They were called the Top Guns. They've been going all over. One of them, Brandon Beretta, is working for OVW. He's working for a couple of other promotions, NWA. He's getting ready to hopefully get a deal with them. His partner, Joey Vanetti, farmer partner, they kind of have a feud, but we put them together. And everybody, I bet you in that room, at least 99% of the people in that room was saying, oh, Brandon Beretta's, he's going to beat him. Well, Joey Vanetti pulls off a win. And it was like you sucked the air out of the room because you want to keep them on the edge of their seat. You don't, the magician don't want you to know how he does his trick.
Right.
And so the more that you can keep the audience invested in those matches, the more they enjoy it. And I see it when they're leaving those auditoriums and those buildings saying, man, we can't wait until next time to see what you got going on. So Brett's right. I mean, nowadays it's most of them are looking for that big ticket, which they should. They're chasing their dreams. And that's what I tell everybody. I chase my dream and I caught it. I never wanted to be a worker, but I wanted to be in the promotional part of it. And I always tell the young guys now in the locker rooms, chase your dreams, catch it, but don't give up your day job. Because nowadays there's not a lot of money in this business unless you're with one of the big federations. And then, boy, if you're a family man, like I said, you got to think about that family. So,
yeah. So do you think that, back in the day, when I say back in the day, the 70s, 80s, you were hard pressed to find a professional wrestler on the territory scene who would say that, well, they're just doing this for the money, that they really weren't professional wrestling fans. Today's wrestlers, I've heard it myself, I really wasn't a professional wrestling fan, but I thought I'd be good at it. Do you think that's part of the problem with some of today's wrestling, that passion for professional wrestling, is it like it used to be?
Well, I think it is today. It's a lot easier to try to get into the business.
Mhm.
I mean, and I'll be honest with you, there are guys out there that are saying they're wrestlers, but in 5 minutes, I can tell you if they're wrestlers. I
Mhm.
can tell you just by asking them a few questions what they know about it. Back in the day, you had to have somebody open that door for you
Mhm.
uh, to get in. Nowadays, it's just we go and these promotions say, "Come on in, jump in here, go get you a pair of tennis shoes and get you a pair of gym trunks, and we'll make you a wrestler." And if that's what they want to let them do, that's fine and dandy. To me, that's not making sure they're wrestlers. You know, you have to know the basics of what you're doing, and you have to know the psychology of the business. And I can sit here and speak from the promotional side of that. But then when you got guys that, like I said, Bob Orton ran our training academy for us. You sit there and listen to the way and how he talked to the students. And then the coaches that he had in there, guys that have been doing it for 20, 25 years. It makes a lot of sense to the younger generation nowadays. You got to know the difference between a wristwatch and a wrist lock.
Mhm.
You know, and you know, Johnny Valentine said it best. You know, I may not be able to make you believe wrestling is real, but I sure in the hell can make you believe I am.
Right.
And he was one of the toughest guys out there. And whenever he got in that ring, the fans knew, whoa, we're in for a treat tonight. And that type of wrestling back in the day, the guys like him, the guys like a Lou Thez and a Pat O'Connor, Harley Race, you know, you go back and look at a Harley Race match and watch how methodical. You didn't see him flip flopping this and that. What he did was pure precision. And when he delivered that left haymaker, it landed. Or you take somebody like a Pat O'Connor, when he backed him up in that corner and he did it a couple of punches to the stomach, and then he come across with that right cross. It was like John Wayne hitting somebody.
Mhm.
Crowd goes, holy crap, man, he just knocked his jaw off of him. Nowadays, you know, it's different, totally
Right.
different. And I get accused from some people that, oh, I'm too old. I got to get into the modern day stuff. And it's okay. I understand that. I'm a dinosaur. But there's one thing that I will take to my grave with me, and that's that I've lived it and I enjoyed it. I'm not going to change just because what's going on TV nowadays. Oversaturation is the other thing that has really hurt the business.
Mhm.
You know, every night, almost a week, you or go to your cable channels, you can see what you want. Back in the day,
Right.
you ran home from church on a
Yep.
Sunday morning to turn on wrestling at the Chase, or on a Saturday night you wanted to watch at
Yeah.
6:05. You set your clock for that, you know. But nowadays, Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. So, you know, and then we want to know why there's no storylines. Well, you'd have to have thousands of wrestlers out there to keep up with all of that stuff, you know. And then I
Yeah.
think it waters it down. And so that's why at SICW, we keep it simple. We keep it basic. We keep it, I don't want to say entertaining, because we go out there and the guys kick butt. We go out there and these guys are fighting, and the good guy is going to beat the bad guy up. And the fans that are sitting there that paid their hard earned money get to cheer for the good guys, boo the bad guys, and they have one heck of a time.
Yeah. So let's go back to FanFest for a second. Tell us, what can we expect on the card for the matches that you have lined up for us?
I can tell you the main event's already been signed. And the former AIWF champion, the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony, I'm sure you've heard of that name.
Mhm.
Greg has been around a long time. Is going to be in action. Him and one of the tough guys nowadays, a guy that is just in Japan right now. Attila Khan is
Wow.
just finishing up a tour of Japan.
Mhm.
I mean, you talk about tough. I mean, Attila Khan is he's a cross between a Abdullah the Butcher and a Bruiser Broody.
Yep.
And you've seen him. So that main event will take place at the Hilton Hotel on May the 17th, when the Golden Boy Greg Anthony squares off against Attila Khan. And we know Attila Khan is part of the Devastation Incorporated, led by the guy that is just a pain in my royal behind, and that's Stephen E. And he will be in the corner of Attila Khan, of course, but Greg Anthony is kind of neutralizing that situation, because another great man, a legend in his own rights, downtown Bruno, is going to be in the corner of Greg Anthony. And so I'm really excited about that match. I think it's going to be great. Our Canadian hero, Sean Vincent, him and a farmer gentleman that he helped train, a guy that's really making a lot of waves in the business at a young start of his career over here a couple years, Big Nasty Glenn Williams, who, man, I'll tell you what if he lacks anything in the ring, inside the ropes, he makes it up with the microphone. He is never short of words, never lost for words. They just had a big feud this last week, and so I think that they may be in action on the 17th. A lot of great matches. A very popular guy, James Jeffries, is going to be there. Hails from Denton, Texas. A young man that's really a crowd favorite. He's up in Waterloo, Iowa with us. We'll be doing the show up there at the Thez Tragus Hall of Fame on July 19th. He'll be a part of that card. But FanFest, you'll see the big Texan is going to be in action there. Of course, the SICW Classic new champion, Bobby D. So it's going to be a great card. Always is. And of course, Shane Douglas. I'm sure you've heard of Shane Douglas.
Oh, yep.
Shane Douglas is signing on board with us. He'll be at FanFest, but he's also getting everything ready to be part of the wrestling card.
Nice.
I know he'll definitely be in the Battle Royal. So Beer City Bruiser, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's been around a long time. He'll be in action that night. So I'm getting calls from wrestlers around the country wanting to come in and be a part of. I'll tell you this: I can't put everybody on the card that's calling me, because we'll be there for 2 or 3 days. So I got to kind of balance that out, But I assure the fans who sees this that they won't be disappointed. They're not going to be disappointed with anything on May 16th and 17th. I'm that confident that FanFest 3 is going to be better than FanFest 1 and 2.
Wow. So now you know that I'm a new guy as far as the podcast world for professional wrestling. So it would be great if you could tell me one surprise that you may have for us. Give me a hint. Are there any surprises that's going to be showing up? Don't tell me what the surprise is, but do we have any surprises lined up?
Yeah, there will always be surprises at an SICW show. And I think that's what sets us above. We're at the top of the ladder when it comes to those type of surprises. Just like I told you, we did this last Saturday night. There's still a few potential legends that I'm talking with that I think the fans will enjoy. From back in the day. And of course, that's what Herb Simmons at SICW is all about. We're all about old school wrestling. Mm-hmm. And if you're an old school wrestling fan, we'll trickle in a little bit. Like I said, people like Teddy Long, great guy that works the room. Him and Mac Davis with their podcast. Um, I think that a lot of the local guys in my locker room and guys that come from the Tennessee area or from Indianapolis, Flash Flanagan is joining us again this year. Flash, former champion for me. So I think the fans haven't seen him in a while, so they're really excited about seeing Flash. But like I said, there will definitely be some surprises, and I think that when it's all said and done on May 17th, when that final bell rings and Barbara Goodish presents the trophy to the Battle Royal winner, that's going to be probably whoever gets that is always a big surprise because they carry that trophy for the next year. And hopefully there will be a FanFest 4. If I'm not doing it, maybe my son will be doing it. That's his plan. But again, I think that I don't think, Kevin, I think that the surprise is going to be is how much fun the fans is going to have.
Absolutely. Look, I can't wait for it. And look, guys, I'm telling you, I have no doubt that come May, this may be sold out. There's so many great people that's going to be there. And as Herb just said, it's going to be a great and fun time. Once again, it's all the same place where you stay at, and as well as the event. So if you're coming with someone like I am with my wife, who at some point will be like, okay, I gotta get away for a minute, they can go back to your room. You don't have to worry about having to fight traffic, come back to pick you up. When it comes to the cost of it, guys, I'm telling you, we were so shocked about how inexpensive this was that just that alone, I'm like, I can't miss this event. I'd be kicking myself if I missed this. So please purchase your tickets and be there. And as Herb said as well, this also helps a lot of the wrestlers that we grew up on with them being able to make money and add to their earnings that they do every year, because this is their living. What am I missing? I'm sure I'm missing something, Herb.
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to say is we talked a little bit about B. Brian Blair, one
Yeah.
half of the Killer Bees. He's the president, CEO of the Cauliflower Alley Club. Himself will be there along with Rich England, the vice president of the Cauliflower Alley. They're coming in. Darla Staggs, one of the executive board members of Cauliflower Alley.
Wonderful woman.
J.J. Dillon's daughter, Pam Morrison, is going to be there. Of course, like I said, Barbara Goodish. But they're going to be there promoting Cauliflower Alley Club because, as you know, I'm on the advisory board of the Cauliflower Alley Club. And plus, Brian Blair just announced today that I'm getting the Promoter of the Year award. So they're coming in, and we'll have a good time with that. So, but the Cauliflower Alley, as we said, is such a great organization. Jerry Briscoe will be there. Briscoe. His brother, great tag team in St. Louis for many years, one of the biggest feuds ever against the Funks. But Jerry will be there, his brother Jack, one of the greatest NWA champions of all time. But Jerry will be there also promoting the Tragus Thez Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa. SICW has been asked this year to do the wrestling show up there. On July 19th. So Jerry will be there. We'll be promoting that. It's always a good time up there. It's another FanFest reunion that I go to every year. And this year we're going to be doing the wrestling show for him. So Jerry will be there. We'll be talking about that. So all kinds of surprises, all kinds of promotional stuff going on there. And the days are clicking down to May 16th and 17th. And the best way to get the tickets is go to sicw.org. And that's the simplest way.
Yep, and you mentioned about the CAC, the Cauliflower Alley Club. Look, guys, I'm actually a member of it. This is something that I feel so good about every year when I spend my money to renew my membership, because I know that this money is going to help, once again, those veterans we all grew up watching. These are the guys that paved the way for us to have professional wrestling still today. But these guys weren't making millions of dollars. And we all know that life happens. And there's sometimes that life catches a lot of these veterans off guard. They need help. The Cauliflower Alley Club, that's exactly what they do. They help those who need help that were part of the wrestling industry. And what's great about it as a fan is it is so cheap to join. It's literally 10 cents a day, $36 a year, or you become a lifetime membership. There's different packages. So if you guys just go to caulifloweralleyclub.org, that's correct, right?
Yes.
.org, and check it out, join. Oh, and they also sell apparel. I got me a beautiful shirt that talks about the Cauliflower Alley Club. But you don't just have to get shirts that has the Cauliflower Alley Club on it. There's your favorite wrestlers that's there, your baseball cap, all kinds of stuff. So
Well, and
please
they
go check
also
that
send
out.
you also get the air newsletter that they send
Yeah,
out quarterly that updates you on everything. So it's definitely, as you said, Kevin, it's another affordable. And I tell the workers nowadays, if you're not a member of the Cauliflower Alley Club, shame on you, because it's like a supplemental insurance policy. Because sometime, if you're in the wrestling business, sometime sooner or later, you're going to fall on some hard times. And I've seen them help out so many people who've been in the business. And the thing is, you don't have to be a wrestler. You don't have to be in the business. You can be a member just because you're a fan. And it's so affordable. And like I said, if you've watched wrestling and grew up on it, I would really ask and please join the Cauliflower Alley Club, because, we don't receive any grant money. It's all done on membership. And sometimes we get lucky enough, and maybe some of the corporate people will throw us a bone every now and then and help us out, but that's very far and few between. It is, and nobody, myself, anybody that's on the board or the advisory board, we don't get paid anything. When I go to Vegas every year, I pay my expenses myself. Everybody does that. So I just encourage everybody to help out the Cauliflower Alley Club. Go to caulifloweralley.org and look at what you can do. And I'm telling you, it'll make you feel good.
yes. And they also have fun events. This year it was very first announced by B. Brian Blair on my podcast. They put out more information. Mick Foley is actually getting roasted
Gotta be
this
roasted.
year.
Yeah.
Yep, and this is happening in Vegas, correct?
Yep. It's going to be, and it's at the Plaza Hotel in Las Vegas, right on Fremont Street. And also, we're bringing back this year the wrestling at the hotel. For the last several years, it's been absent. But this year, we will have a wrestling card there at the hotel.
Yep. Well, I tell you what, Herb. Thank you so much for joining me again. I always love talking to you. You're like a wrestler encyclopedia. Some of the things
I'm just old.
man, some of the things that you guys do is just it's so awesome. Or the things that I get behind. Before we go though, please tell everybody SICW. I know that they can watch the product on YouTube. Tell them about it.
Yeah, we do a wrestling show on YouTube, SICW All Star Wrestling, on every Sunday night at 8 p.m. It's old school. If you like studio style wrestling, sometimes our audience only has 20, 25 people in it, but it sounds like there's a couple hundred. And we do TV tapings. We just did one this last week. And so we taped 4 shows that will be aired over the next 4 weeks. And then we'll have our, by that time, we're going to be pretty close to the FanFest. And, but it's just old TV studio wrestling. And we do interviews right at ringside, just like they used to do. and it's really gets that old school feeling. But we've got a lot of shows coming up also. We do a lot of nonprofit organizations for police departments and civic organizations. Some of the towns we're going back to is Fairmont City, Illinois. We're doing NASCAR and racing and wrestling for NASCAR. We'll have 3 big car shows for the NASCAR people at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Troy, Illinois, we just booked them for a park recreational place. Like a Sandoval, Illinois, Breeze, Illinois, Shawneetown, Illinois. The Missouri Athletic Club over in Missouri will be doing this year again. So ours is all repeat business. Some of these organizations we've been doing for the last 10, 12, 15 years. So, and I think that's my mother and grandmother used to say, the proof is in the pudding. And so when you're getting repeat business, you got to be doing something right. Ain't that right, Bruce?
And I tell you what, you talk about that whole video interviews, stuff like that. If you guys love the feeling of nostalgia, every Sunday when I watch SICW on YouTube, it brings me back to the days of Mid-South Wrestling, of Atlantic Championship Wrestling on TBS, because, and it makes me think of the greats like Gordon Soley, because this is exactly what I grew up on. So if that's something you guys love, and you just love just the purity of professional wrestling, check out SICW on YouTube. Again, Mr. Herb, is always a pleasure. I cannot wait to meet you in person. In May, you're always welcome on the show. And keep on doing what you're doing. I really appreciate it.
Very good. And when you see Bob, tell him I said hello, and we'll catch you next time.
Will do. You guys, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have so many great things coming. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. We will see you actually tomorrow. We're doing the recap of AEW's pay-per-view that just happened Sunday. And then later that night, we'll also be doing a recap of tonight's Monday Night Raw. So we'll see you guys then. Have a good night, Herb.
Thank you. Take care.